Ciao, I'm Mary Ann Esposito. Today on Ciao Italia, more than just mushrooms. Ciao, I'm Mary Ann Esposito. Welcome to Italy, and let's cook real Italian. Aren't they gorgeous? Swiss chard. I knew you said that. I'm in heaven. Think about how healthy this is. That's for you. Sundae sauce. All 20 regions of Italy are fabulous. And every time I do this, I think of my nonna Galasso because she always made it this way. You want a Goldilocks dough, just right. Who doesn't like basil, especially in the summer? Obviously, you have to have pesto sauce at some point, right? I mean, I'm a cook. Why can't I try it? You're the best.
No, you're the best.
There's something magical about mushrooms. They seem to just show up when you're not looking. And when they do, you don't dare pick them unless you know what you're doing. My friend Dennis Chesley does, and today we're on a hunt together.
My dad was a mail carrier, and on his mail route he would spy edible wild mushrooms during his workday, so that when I got home from school, Dad was already home from his mail route, and I'd get off the bus and he'd say, "You want to go out in the woods and find some edible mushrooms this afternoon?" And I'd say, "You betcha, Dad." And I was 12 years old then, and I'm 66 now, and I'm up to over 160 wild species of mushrooms that I eat.
Wow, well, you're the guy to go with for sure today to look for mushrooms, because I wouldn't do this with someone I didn't know really had a history of finding wild mushrooms.
Many mushrooms have a symbiotic relationship with plants and especially trees, where their root system, I'll call it a root system, they're not plants, but the mycelia, which is functionally the same as roots, actually underground form connections with the rhizomes of the trees. So the mushrooms bring in the moisture and the nutrients, and the trees give them back fully metabolized sugars so they can grow and thrive.
You know, you are the authority and know all of these different mushroom varieties and species well enough so that you could take just amateurs out into the woods and say, you know, you don't want to go near those, but...
Well, you know, I've been doing it off and on since I was 12, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah. And a good rule of thumb, I think, is for people that are just getting started to become comfortable with maybe 1 or 2 new species each season, and to not try to do too much too fast, because you'll make a mistake and could get sick or worse. You
know, there's some growing on the trees,
yep.
And then I see these little, you know, capped mushrooms, and I'm thinking, no, I would need to have somebody like you come and identify them.
Yeah, exactly.
And say, you know, you can eat those, but I would never do this by myself because I am not a mycologist. Now, what is this here? What is this?
This? Oh yes, this is a type of arusula.
Hey, good eye, good eye.
Very good. This is a type of arusula.
It's not poisonous, but it's insipid. It has very little flavor. In the olden days, emetics used to be prescribed commonly to cause people to upchuck if they have something bad to eat.
Look at that. Right in front of me, and I didn't even see it.
And this one has gills on the bottom, which
beautiful,
a lot of mushrooms do, and this is where the spores fall out. And the spores produce the next generation of mushrooms, and they form up inside those gills. Now this one here has some specks on the cap. You see the little white specks?
Yeah.
Like you'd see in an illustration of a Beatrix Potter book. This means it's a member of the Amanita group. The nice thing about foraging for mushrooms is that even if you don't find anything at all, you're going to have a good day out in the forest and fields.
Yes. What's that? Is that another one of those?
Another Amanita.
Another Amanita. Oh. Oh. Oh.
This, good people,
yes,
is a candy cap mushroom.
A candy cap. Oh.
And if you wound it and smell it, you'll smell it tastes. It has the odor of
A little bit like caramelized sugar.
I think that's stretching it, Dennis.
No, it's even more pronounced once it's been dried.
This is edible?
That's very edible. In Maine, people make ice cream from these because it has a flavor somewhat reminiscent of maple syrup.
And it's called?
The candy cap.
So you know what we should tell people is, what is the anatomy of a mushroom? Even though this isn't a porcini, just go through the drill.
Well, it has, obviously the main portion of the organism is the mycelial structure underground, which corresponds with the roots in a plant. And then you have what botanists would call the stem. We call it a stipe. And then it has the cap, in other words, the pileus. And on the bottom, this one has the gills, from which the spores are developed. And many people think that mushrooms have this nice sort of aerodynamic quality, like the profile of an airplane wing, so that they evolved as winds were blowing across the ground, that they would create lift, which would disperse the spores. It would enhance the ability of the organism to disperse its spores. So the cap can be regarded as kind of a miniature airplane wing.
Wow.
To help dispersal of spores.
Candy cap.
Candy cap. Let's grab all of these.
There's some little ones there. You going to get those?
Yeah, I will.
Those grew just right there in kind of a mushy little spot.
Yeah, they seem to. This is obviously the remains of a stump. And it's being pretty well decomposed by surrounding mosses and fungi, for that matter. And if I had to guess, I'd say that this little black birch is probably a descendant of the original tree. And these mushrooms are doing their thing. They're providing a vital role in a healthy forest ecosystem. And these candy caps are going to taste great. So we did get these nice candy caps, which should have some immediate use for you in your kitchen.
Beautiful.
And
how would you eat them?
I would eat them, as you say, on an ice cream. They're a dessert mushroom, and folks in Maine, where they're very common, make candy cap mushroom ice cream.
I'm going straight home and taking up that idea. Dennis,
excellent.
Thank you so much for all the information, for foraging with me. I learned a lot from you about mushrooms. And now we need to go nella cucina, where we're going to make several wonderful mushroom dishes. Going hunting with Dennis Chesley was really interesting. You know what that pointed out to me? You really have to know what you're doing when you're looking for wild mushrooms. So we weren't so lucky that day getting porcini, but guess what? Your grocery store has all kinds of mushrooms. And today we're going to make marinated mushrooms. And the mushrooms we're going to do today are typical of what comes from the region of Calabria, right here. Calabria, often called the toe of Italy, it separates Sicily with the Straits of Messina, right there. So if you're in Calabria, you're eating things like sardines, eggplant for sure, chili peppers, all kinds of marinated mushrooms, and all kinds of marinated vegetables and grilled vegetables. So let me show you what we're going to do today. So here we have an assortment of mushrooms, fungi as they're called in Italian, that you can find in your grocery store. So we have little bella mushrooms, also known as cremini mushrooms. These are the little brothers of the portobello mushroom. Then you have the typical button mushroom. Everybody can find these. Then you have the shiitake mushroom. Cute little mushroom with a really intense flavor. And here you have oyster mushrooms. And all of these can be made into marinated mushrooms. So how do you do this? Well, first what you have to do is wipe down the mushrooms. Now you can wash them, but really washing them just adds a lot more water to them. So it's better that if you just brush off any dirt that's on them, either with a little mushroom brush like this, or you could use a paper towel. So you just get all of that excess dirt, whatever's on the mushrooms, off. So then, once they're clean like this, you cut them in half, because we're going to dry these on a dehydrator. So you cut them in half. So here are our buttons. And you want them about the same size so that they're all going to dry at the same time. So let me put those on a plate right there. The oysters I'm not going to slice because they're already in small pieces and very delicate. And for the shiitake, the stem is a little tough. So I take that stem off and then just cut the shiitakes in half. You can do an assortment of mushrooms that you can find in your grocery store. I'm not saying that you have to use specifically these. And then the baby bellas or the little cremini mushrooms get cut in half. They're a little more durable, a little harder than the button. And now that we have those, we can put them on the dehydrator. So this is a dehydrator, and you're saying to yourself, I don't have one of those. No problem, because you can also do this in the oven. If you had a cookie rack, you could put it over a bake sheet, put the mushrooms on that, and you can dry it in a low oven, maybe 250 degrees. This is a lot faster. So this has a rack on it. It has heat, a fan, and that is what is going to dry the mushrooms. So you take the mushrooms and you place them cut side down on the dehydrator. Now, depending on the size, that will depend on how much time it will take for these to dry. So you really have to watch them. I'm not saying you have to sit by the dehydrator, but every, a couple hours or so you should go back and check to see where they are, because what you want is something that's dry but not crispy. So you don't want it to be as dry as a potato chip. So now we're going to put the oysters on, and that fills up that tray. Okay, now that they're on, you put the top on the dehydrator. You turn on the fan and you let it go. Maybe 5-6 hours later, you're ready to do the next step. All right, there are dried mushrooms. Take a look. So, at what consistency should these be at? Well, like I said, not crispy, but bendable. It's like a dried apricot is bendable. So they're all dried now, and I can take them off, and I'm going to put them right into some cheesecloth, because now, I know this sounds counterintuitive, we have to put them in some liquid, and the liquid is red wine vinegar. And why are we doing that? Because the red wine vinegar is going to give this not only flavor, but it's going to help preserve these. So you tie up your cheesecloth, a little bundle like that, with some string. Make sure you're using kitchen string and not the dental floss in your bathroom counter. So tie it up, and then have some red wine vinegar kind of seeping in a pot here, steeping, and I'm going to put this in the little bundle, and I'm going to let that stay in there for about 5 minutes. That's enough time for the mushrooms to absorb some of that red wine flavor. So while that's happening, we're going to make the marinade for the mushrooms. If you were doing about 3 pounds of these mushrooms, you'd need about a cup, but I'm going to do a jar of this for you. And then we want some dried oregano. A little dried oregano goes in. And some crushed black peppercorns. Why did I do that? Because that really gives a nice flavor instead of just adding a little pinch of ground pepper. So the peppercorns add crunch, they add texture, they add taste, and they add a nice color to the jar. So some peppercorns, black peppercorns crushed. And then some toasted fennel seeds. And you can do that just in a little frying pan. I just get a little nonstick frying pan heated, I put the fennel seeds in, and I just lightly toast them until I can smell their fragrance. Kind of like licorice. So we're going to put some of those in. Fennel seeds. And then we need salt. So, to taste. And then we need what Calabria is really known for, the peperoncino, chili pepper. So, we really want the seeds. And then just break them and shake out those seeds. That's where the heat is. And then we want to whisk this up. And we're going to add more olive oil to the jar when we do this, but this is enough to coat the mushrooms. So that's ready to get those red wine soaked mushrooms. Okay, those mushrooms are done, and now we need to take them out. So you take out that cheesecloth bag. Can you use that vinegar again? Yeah, especially if you make more mushrooms. Okay, so there it is. And now we just want to cut open this bag. And there they are. They're a bit hydrated now. So, ooh, that really gets to you. So now you take them out, and with asbestos fingers, you put them on a towel just to get them a little bit dry and absorb all that excess vinegar, which I am breathing in. Okay, so there they are, and that really, really does penetrate these mushrooms and give them a really unique flavor. Okay, I think that's all of them. Okay, so we can get rid of that. Okay. And give them a toss. Give them a good toss. Look how beautiful they are. Now, why am I doing this? You're probably saying, well, you can get mushrooms all year long. Why are you bothering? Because I like these as part of an antipasto. You know, when you have grilled vegetables, you can also have marinated mushrooms. You can have salumi with it. It makes a nice presentation and a great crostini, by the way. Okay, now we have that. So the next thing is get out a perfectly sterilized jar. And you can put in a hot pepper, if you like, right in the base there. And then you start filling the jar. And depending on, of course, how many you make, you'll need several jars. Leave a little room at the top, though, because we have to add olive oil. That's perfect for this jar. Okay, now that we have that, you want to top that jar with some extra virgin olive oil. See that little stem? Okay, so here we go. Really bring it up to the top. You're going to keep these in the refrigerator, as I said. But you want to let them really age, oh, I would say a day or so on your countertop. Cover them completely. You don't want any mushroom poking up out of the oil. So there's the jar. We cap it. A week later, we are ready to enjoy the mushrooms. And here they are. I'm going to pour them right in that bowl so you can take a look. Look how beautiful they look. Guess what? They're perfect just like that. But maybe you want to serve them to company or you want to do something a little special. How about a crostini? Oh, they're so popular right now. Crostini can have anything on them. So here we have just small little pieces of bread that we fried in a little bit of olive oil. So you can take these beautiful mushrooms and just place them. I'd get a little thyme with this, you know, a little fresh thyme, because I like thyme with mushrooms. You can give that just a little bit of black pepper over the top. I would eat that with a knife and fork. Actually, I should try one. Get a spoon. Okay. Just to see how good a job I did. Let me get that one. That red wine vinegar, wow, comes right through. That's how you do marinated mushrooms. How about we make a carpaccio di funghi, which is a marinated mushroom salad. And remember those mushrooms I had? The buttons, the shiitake, the oyster, the cremini, or the bella. They're all cut up now in thin slices. We want to have some lemon juice. So I would say the juice of 1 large lemon for this salad. This is going to be a salad that just serves one person. Yeah, me. Okay, so just for me. So squeeze those lemons. So here's the lemon juice. We're going to add a little bit of salt. We're going to add some extra virgin olive oil. We're going to add back to those chili peppers. I'm just going to tear up a few of these and put them in. Now you can leave this out if this is just too much for you and you don't want to have a little heat. You don't have to put this in. Get any seeds that are in there too. Okay, and then we need to have some parsley. This is the kind of salad that you really want to let marinate for a couple hours. It's better at room temperature. Everything should be kept at room temperature. Okay, that's good. Then we take these, put them in there, and we toss. Toss it well. Sometimes I like to do this in a rectangular dish because then mushrooms get evenly coated with the marinade, but I'm lazy today, so I'm doing it in this bowl. Okay, once that's marinating, a lot of the juice is going to come out of those mushrooms. You'll see later. So we want to put that aside, and after a couple hours, we're ready to make that salad. So with the mushrooms, I like arugula because it has a nice peppery flavor. Who likes a boring salad? I like salad that really just goes poof in your mouth. And here we have a little salt. So I'm going to just dress that. There you have it. Mushroom carpaccio. Look what you can do with marinated mushrooms that you've made yourself. Remember, we put them in a jar with some olive oil, we steeped the mushrooms in some vinegar, we added some spices, and they're all ready to eat. Now, how can you eat them? Well, how about as a crostini on crusty bread? Delicious. Or you could use them as part of an antipasto with peppers and onions, olives. Or you could make a wonderful salad with raw mushrooms where you've added some arugula, some Asiago cheese, some lemon juice, some parsley, salt and pepper. Delicious. And until I see you nella cucina again, I'm Mary Ann Esposito. Ciao.